The Galactic Council Chamber was a masterpiece of alien architecture, a colossal dome of shimmering crystal suspended in the vacuum of space. Inside, delegates from countless species floated or stood in their designated areas, their forms ranging from towering insectoids to amorphous beings of pure light. At the center of the chamber stood Ambassador Elise Tan, humanity's representative, her silhouette stark against the Council's grandeur. She was alone, dwarfed by the collective might of the galaxy's most ancient and powerful civilizations. A Sorthak envoy, its voice a mix of grinding metal and whispers, addressed her with thinly veiled contempt. Humanity's reckless expansion has become a threat to the balance of this galaxy. Your species consumes resources at an unsustainable rate, claiming worlds without respect for existing claims. This behavior cannot continue. Elise's face remained calm, betraying none of the anxiety swirling in her mind. She had expected this. The Council had always viewed humanity as a pest, an upstart race that had climbed from its cradle far too quickly. Still, hearing the words spoken aloud brought a chill to her spine. Another delegate, a bulbous creature with pulsating veins glowing beneath its translucent skin, added, "We have convened and reached consensus. Humanity will cede its outer colonies immediately and submit to the Council's oversight. Failure to comply will result in your annihilation." Elise clasped her hands behind her back, her fingers digging into her palms as she forced herself to remain composed. They made it sound so simple: hand over the fruits of centuries of labor and ingenuity or face extinction. It wasn't just an ultimatum, it was a dismissal of humanity's right to exist as an independent species. She glanced around the chamber, her gaze sweeping over the alien representatives. Their confidence was palpable, their disdain evident. To them, humanity was a minor inconvenience, a nuisance they believed they could easily crush. Elise knew better. Humanity was far from the helpless race they assumed it to be. Taking a slow breath, she stepped forward. The Council's concerns are noted, and humanity recognizes the significance of this warning. We will consider your terms carefully and act accordingly. A ripple of approval passed through the chamber. The aliens interpreted her words as submission, and why wouldn't they? From their perspective, humanity had no alternative. But Elise's carefully chosen phrasing held a double meaning, one the Council's arrogance prevented them from grasping. As the session adjourned, Elise turned and exited the chamber, her heels clicking against the polished floor. Outside, aboard the human delegation's vessel, she was greeted by Admiral Grant, his grizzled face a mix of worry and resolve. "They bought it," Elise said quietly. "They think we're going to roll over." Grant nodded grimly. "And the fleet?" "Proceeding as planned. They'll never see it coming." In the silence that followed, both understood the weight of what lay ahead. Humanity had been underestimated, and the Council's ultimatum had done nothing but light a fire they would soon regret. Deep beneath the surface of Mars, hidden within a labyrinth of caverns, the heartbeat of humanity's defiance echoed. It wasn't the steady hum of a reactor or the rhythmic thud of machinery, it was the unified efforts of thousands of engineers, scientists, and workers who had committed themselves to one goal: survival. The Terran fleet was no longer just a blueprint or a dream. It was becoming a reality. Massive stealth frigates and battleships lay scattered across the underground docks, their sleek forms glinting under the harsh artificial lights. These ships, built with a combination of human innovation and salvaged alien technology, represented the culmination of decades of secretive preparation. Kara Jin, one of the lead engineers, stood on a raised platform overlooking the largest ship in the fleet. "TSV Resolute," she murmured, the name etched proudly on its hull. It was a testament to human ingenuity, bristling with advanced weaponry and outfitted with experimental stealth systems that would make it nearly invisible to the most sophisticated alien sensors. Beside her, Dr. Elias Ford stared at a holographic display of a Council drone they'd recently captured and disassembled. "They're watching us," he said. "Not closely enough, but they're watching. We have to assume they've seen something. They might suspect, but they'll never understand the scale of what we're building here," Kara replied. Her voice carried a fierce determination. "They think we're too primitive to even attempt something like this. Let them underestimate us." On the fringes of the cavern, Riley Carter, a young technician, tightened the final bolts on a targeting system for a smaller corvette. The work was exhausting, but the stakes were clear. Every system had to be perfect, there would be no second chances. As Riley wiped their brow, they glanced at a picture tucked inside their toolkit, a hologram of their family on Europa Station. That image kept them going. Across the solar system, similar scenes played out. On Earth, factories worked around the clock, churning out parts and supplies. On Luna, defense satellites were refitted with kinetic weapons. On Europa, civilian freighters were quietly converted into armored transports. The entire species, from military strategists to civilian volunteers, was united in a singular effort. Even within the shadows of secrecy, the weight of what they were building was not lost on anyone. This wasn't just about defending Earth. This was about proving humanity's right to exist in the galaxy. It was about showing the Council that they had underestimated the resolve of a species that had clawed its way out of extinction time and again. Admiral Grant stood in a dimly lit war room, surrounded by holographic projections of the fleet's progress. "How long until we're ready?" he asked one of the logistics officers. 3 weeks, sir. Maybe less if we push harder." Grant nodded, his jaw tight. "We don't push. We get it right. When we strike, there can't be a single weak point. If they want to fight, we'll show them what humans are capable of." In those hidden corners of the solar system, a quiet storm was building. Every weld, every calculation, every sleepless night brought humanity one step closer to the moment the galaxy would learn the truth. The Council had mistaken patience for weakness. Soon, they would see the difference. The Galactic Council fleet arrived in Earth's orbit with all the arrogance of a conqueror. Their ships were immense, shimmering monoliths of alien engineering, bristling with weapons that could reduce entire planets to ash. The fleet's commander, an Etherian general named Kelwit Vran, stood aboard the flagship, his elongated form glowing faintly in the dim light of the command chamber. "Broadcast the final warning," Vran ordered, his voice smooth but tinged with disdain. A cold, mechanical voice echoed across every human colony, every station, every ship. "Humans of Sol, your time is up. Surrender your worlds and submit to the Galactic Council's authority, or be eradicated. You have 1 hour to comply." On Earth, Admiral Grant stood on the bridge of the TSV Vanguard, humanity's flagship, his face carved from stone. Around him, the Terran fleet was coming alive. Ships emerged from hidden orbits behind moons and asteroids, their hulls gleaming under the light of distant stars. The stealth systems disengaged one by one, revealing the full might of humanity's secret armada. The response to the Council's ultimatum was broadcast in kind. Ambassador Elise Tan's voice, calm and resolute, carried across the void. "To the Galactic Council, humanity will not surrender. We will not submit. Your presence in our skies is an act of war. Leave now, or face the consequences." A ripple of laughter swept through the alien fleet's command channels. To them, this was bravado, a desperate last stand from a species too naive to recognize its own limits. Vran's amusement faded when his tactical officer interrupted. "General, we're detecting anomalies. Multiple ships on intercept vectors. They're human ships." Vran's disbelief turned to anger. "Impossible. Humanity doesn't have the capability." Before he could finish, the first salvo struck. The Vanguard led the charge, unleashing a devastating volley of railgun fire that ripped through the shielding of a Council cruiser. The alien vessel exploded in a brilliant flash, sending debris spiraling through space. The battle erupted in an instant. The Terran fleet moved with a precision and ferocity that caught the Council completely off guard. Human ships were smaller, but they were faster and more maneuverable, outfitted with weapons that punched far above their weight. Stealth frigates weaved between the Council's behemoth warships, delivering crippling EMP bursts that left them vulnerable to follow-up strikes. On board the TSV Resolute, Riley Carter and their crewmates worked furiously to maintain the targeting systems, their frigate darting through the chaos to disable a critical enemy destroyer. Riley's hands trembled as they adjusted the controls, but their focus never wavered. This wasn't just a battle, it was the culmination of everything they'd worked for. Within minutes, the balance of power shifted. Council ships, unprepared for such an organized assault, faltered. Vraan stared at the tactical display in disbelief as the once overwhelming fleet was systematically dismantled. "How?" he whispered, watching the flagship's shields buckle under a coordinated strike. Elise's voice cut through the static. "You thought us weak. You thought us incapable. You were wrong." The flagship's hull fractured under the final blow, and with it, the Galactic Council's illusion of dominance shattered. The remnants of their fleet scrambled to retreat, broadcasting frantic warnings to their home systems. Humanity had not only survived, they had prevailed. The aftermath of the battle rippled across the galaxy like a supernova. For the first time in millennia, the Galactic Council had been defeated in open combat. The Terran fleet's victory was no mere fluke, it was a statement, one that resonated from the core worlds to the outermost fringes of known space. Humanity, the so-called upstart species, had done the impossible. On Earth, the celebrations were immediate and unrestrained. Crowds filled the streets of every major city, their cheers echoing through the air. Holographic displays replayed the battle in stunning detail, highlighting the ingenuity and bravery of the Terran fleet. Families hugged one another, tears streaming down their faces as the news of victory reached every corner of the colonies. In the war room aboard the TSV Vanguard, Elise Tan and Admiral Grant stood side by side, reviewing the casualty reports. Though the victory had been decisive, the cost had been high. Dozens of human ships had been lost, and thousands of lives had been sacrificed to secure the freedom of the species. Elise's expression was somber as she addressed the fleet in a broadcast. "This victory is not just ours, it belongs to every human who dared to believe in a future beyond fear. To those we lost, we owe a debt that can never be repaid. But let their sacrifice remind us of who we are, a species that refuses to be caged. We did not seek this fight, but we will never shy away from defending our right to exist. To the Galactic Council, let this serve as a warning. Humanity stands united. Humanity stands free." Her words were met with thunderous applause across the fleet, even as many of the crews remained hard at work repairing the damage sustained during the battle. Riley Carter sat in the cramped quarters of the TSV Resolute, a bandage wrapped around their arm. The hologram of their family flickered to life on the nearby console. They smiled weakly as their younger sister's face appeared. "You did it," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. "No," Riley replied, their voice hoarse. "We all did." Meanwhile, the Galactic Council was in disarray. The surviving members of the fleet returned to their respective worlds with reports that sent shockwaves through their civilizations. The council chambers, once a place of confidence and unity, now echoed with arguments and recriminations. "They've turned their backward technology into weapons that rival ours," one delegate hissed. "This cannot be allowed to stand." Others were more cautious. "And what do you propose? Another war? We underestimated them once. Do you think they'll be less prepared next time?" The arguments raged on, but one truth was undeniable: humanity could no longer be ignored. Back in the Sol system, the Terran fleet continued its preparations. Repairs were made, new ships were commissioned, and plans for future exploration and defense were drawn up. Humanity had no illusions about the challenges that lay ahead. The Council might regroup, other species might rise to challenge them, and the galaxy itself would remain a dangerous place. But humanity had proven its resilience, its ingenuity, and its determination. For the first time, the galaxy looked at humanity not with disdain but with respect and perhaps a little fear. As the sun set over Earth, its light reflected off the hulls of the Terran fleet in orbit. Humanity had carved out its place among the stars, and there was no turning back.